Todd, thank you so much for joining me this morning. Congratulations on Bonhoeffer. It's really really good film. I was
Thank you,
watching
brother.
it. My daughter came over, sat down, didn't leave, watched the rest of it with me. Um, and also, I correct me if I'm wrong. This is your directorial debut.
I directed a movie back in 1742. So, 1,000 years ago, I directed a movie, but this is really the one that it, even though it was my second movie, it feels like my first because it was just so exciting and fresh to do. And I'd come off working with Clint Eastwood and being on set for Sully, and I watched how a set should be run, and I listened and I learned from Clint, and it was just a huge blessing to be able to come and make Bonhoeffer. So it felt very new to me.
Wow, that must be quite the experience to be able to learn from Clint Eastwood, and just to stand there. I'd love
Yeah,
to be a fly on the wall on any of those sets.
I call
So
that the Clint Eastwood Film School.
nice. Tell me what drew you to this project?
Bonhoeffer himself. This is a guy that once you start reading his work and you start reading about him and what he did, it's impossible to look away. So I was offered the chance to tell his story, and it took me about 10 minutes to run towards it. There's certain people that you meet, Manny, you know what it's like in your own life, and everyone does. You meet someone and you just feel an instant affection for them, and you want to know what they think about things, and you know it's going to be a lifelong friendship. And that's what meeting Dietrich was like for me.
Wow. And so in the process of getting to know him, what were some of the things that really stood out to you?
I love that he was not a stiff figure from the history books, that he was modern and funny and sharp and um, just the kind of person that I'd like to hang out with. Like when we're done talking right now, I wish I could go have a beer with Dietrich. He just embodies the best of humanity. And also, when the call came to sacrifice everything and fight Hitler, he answered it,
Mhm.
and he had everything to lose. He didn't hesitate. I think in our own selves, we would wish that if that moment came, if people needed help in the street, if there was any kind of rescuing situation, that we would run toward the fire and put it out.
Hmm.
Um, how often we actually do that, I don't know. I mean, I know that I found myself feeling remarkably unbrave in comparison to Dietrich and the life he lived, and I've been trying to work on becoming more courageous in light of having met him.
Yeah, it's tough, and we see that during the film because I mean he had a good upbringing. He gave for all intents and purposes he could have just been in stayed in the States or and lived a pretty good life. We saw I loved that you showcased really that fun aspect of him where as he's discovering jazz and things of that nature. And so then but when it came down to the nitty-gritty of having to make a tough decision, it was instantaneous where you kind of saw the development of his character. In order to do that, you need the right protagonist, and you have and Jonas Dassler. Tell me about him.
How great is he? It's an
Amazing.
extraordinary performance. Yeah, I mean, there's a humility and gentleness to Jonas, the man, and I think he just took in Dietrich's DNA. He took in his spirit and the love that Dietrich had in the world, and he sent it back out through his performance. It was a really honest and humble performance. He never pushed. It was not a performance that needed a ton of direction because he just knew the guy, and took us on an intimate journey into the heart of the man. When you point a camera at somebody, you don't know what they're going to give off until they are on set and they're in costume. You don't know how much of their soul they're going to afford you a view of. And Jonas was willing and brave as Bonhoeffer in showing us his full soul.
And what kind of communication would you have really? You said he really didn't need too much direction, but obviously in getting to know Dietrich's story, you both really formulate your idea of how you want him portrayed. What kind of communication would you guys have on set on a daily basis to and to really make sure that you guys had exactly what you wanted on screen.
So I'll give you an example. Something that was really important to me about how I saw Dietrich is I saw him as kind of a boxer. I saw him as a guy who he was moving and throwing punches and hard to hit. And so when you see the scene where he's talking to all the bishops, he's moving and he's throwing punches and he's taking on these older gentlemen that are supposed to represent the church and holiness, and he's just showing them the truth. And that felt like a guy who could throw some jabs. So that worked in every scene that was similar where Dietrich had to encounter difficulty. In the scene with the Jewish prisoners, when they get off the truck, I wanted Jonas to do the same thing. And I told him so. Walk in among the prisoners and bop around, do your boxer thing. But on the day, we did a take, and he just went straight over to the actor playing Moisha. I said, okay, cut. I was like, that was great. Okay, but this time, remember our boxer thing? Do the boxer thing. Second take, he says he's going to do it. He goes right over straight to Moisha. And I was like, okay, you're doing this for a reason. What's going on? And he said, I don't know. I feel so drawn to this one individual. I just feel pulled. And when I try to go elsewhere, it's not happening. So I said, all right, we will shoot the scene as if you are being magnetically pulled toward that character. And of course, he was right. His instinct was right. For that scene, it was really about one person seeing another person and therefore rescuing one person.
Yeah, because a lot of what transpires in the movie is really about what comes out from the inside, and being able to showcase it. And I do like the expressions really of when Dietrich is interacting with other members of the clergy, and like he's throwing his punches of why we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. They know he's right, but they're like, and they do such a good job at showcasing. They're like, yeah, we know you're right, but so it's really telling, and it's important because that's really how the differentiating him and the others, and why his character is so important. So great job with that.
Thank you.
And one of the things that really struck me, you guys did a really good job at making sure that you guys had um, um, accurate time. I guess how difficult is that, or how do you get around to making sure that you have the right clothing, you guys, the scenes are set right to make sure that you can keep the audiences in that time capsule.
Authenticity, authenticity, authenticity. I'm a maniac about being specific in details. If there was a tchotchke in the Bonhoeffer house that was from the wrong era, if it wasn't exactly 1933 and believable as the thing next to the lamp, it was gone. And we did that with everything, every piece of clothing, all the Gestapo uniforms, all the German uniforms. The attention to detail was paramount to me because, like you said, if you get that right, people are lost in the movie. They disappear into the movie. If you get that wrong, people are like, wait a minute, they didn't have elevator shoes back in 1938. And then you get upset and you check out and you're not with the characters on the ride. So those authentic details matter deeply.
And something that struck me really is um, some of the similarities. I mean, we're talking about World War II. We're talking about decades and decades ago, and just the similarities in some of the ways that people are not able to differentiate their relationship with God and their relationship with the government regime, whatever you want to call it. How timely and important is this story still now that it's able to resonate not only World War II but now in 2024?
Yeah, sadly it resonates. It's almost like it's happening in real time because there are people out there right now using religion, using belief, um, using what they consider the morality of the Bible to injure people,
Mhm.
to exert power over people. And the movie states unequivocally that the church should not be a place of power. It should be a place of love and tenderness and healing. And I keep talking about, our churches should look like hospitals where people come in and they're broken, they're wounded, and they find healing and they find sustenance in the body of Christ. They should not look like country clubs where everybody is smugly talking about how those outside the walls of this church are going straight to hell in a handbasket. That's not the gospel. So I think things are pretty upside down at the moment, and I hope the movie does some correcting of the current religious barometer. It's not a spiritual barometer, it's a religious barometer. And what Bonhoeffer really wanted was, and he says it in the movie, but he said it in real life, he wanted a religionless Christianity. He wanted Christ without religion, instead of what we have now and what they had back then, religion without Christ.
Yep, I 100% agree, and it's interesting because I was watching through it, and there was moments where I felt uncomfortable just because of how many parallels I saw now versus then, and I'm really hoping that, kind of like you're saying, that it does open some eyes and it's able to show, that I mean, let's be honest, we all have a lot of things we need to work on. Sometimes we need a little push. I think a film like Bonhoeffer is a great little push to maybe, because it honestly can affect an entire community, especially if you have a flock that's being led by somebody who is who's pushing that kind of narrative, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Totally agree.
So what, in all said and done with the project, what is your biggest takeaway from the project and his story in your film, actually, in general?
What do I want people to take away, or what did
Yeah.
I take away?
Actually, you know what? Let's do both.
All
It
right.
might be
So
similar.
what I want people to take away is that they can be brave. They can be brave at home. They can be brave in their parenting. They can be brave in their friendships. That anytime that you push through your own inconvenience, whenever you put another person first and their needs first, it's a kind of courage. And it's what we're called to do anyway. We're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. We're supposed to think of others before we think of ourselves. So I'd love people to actually try that because guess what? It works. It's not just good advice, it's the truth. And then for me, what I took away is just it deepened my work ethic. I remember, the movie was difficult to shoot. It was very cold. It was all on location, and it was a big, a lot of parts, moving parts. At that time, I needed neck surgery, and I didn't have a chance to get it before making the movie. So I couldn't turn my head. I could only look straight ahead. And it was very painful and I wasn't sleeping very much. And so I I I had the temptation to say, this is too hard, or why do I have to deal with this? But then I got the smack in the face from the reality. It was like, listen, dummy, you're the one that got asked to make the movie. You're the lucky one. You got married and you have children and you've lived a full life. Dietrich traded his life in because of the time he was born in. He never got married, he never had children. So what, your neck hurts? So what, today is hard? It's not as hard as what he faced. And so I felt like Dietrich was propping me up, that the life he lived was giving me strength in real time and reminding me that we all need perspective. Not to say that my suffering didn't count or didn't matter, but it was not so big that I should stop or that I should do a lesser job. And that pushing through difficulties is really what defines us in the end. It's not the moments when we stop and cry. It's what we do, and we must stop and cry, by the way. But it's what we do when we wipe away that last tear, get up and soldier on.
Mhm. Yeah, it's important to get those emotions out to kind of almost refuel a little bit and cleanse a bit. Uh,
Absolutely. I'm a big crier.
I was just talking with somebody the other day, and I was like, "Yeah, you just have a good cry, and you're gonna be able to push through and feel better." So yeah, I 100% agree with you. Message is loud and clear. It's a beautiful film. It's yes, there's a lot of tragedy in it, but like you said, I think we can find a lot of inspiration behind it, especially in a story like this. I'm always grateful for filmmakers and studios like this that can bring to light people that did great things that don't often get the spotlight. So Todd, thank you, and it was amazing to meet you, and I had a great time chatting with you.
Thank you, Manny. I had a great time too, and I really do need that doll. Do you have that doll handy that you can show it on screen, or is that?
It's no, actually, it's in the other room. It's in at the newsroom in the other room.
Oh, it has its own room.
Well, no, it's at my because at my news desk. I have one version that's a producer version. I have another one that's a reporter version of me because I've worked with Funko a couple of times. And believe it or not, at home, actually, you know what? I'll show you my phone screen because there's my wife and I. That was for
That's so
our
great.
wedding. That was on
That
top of
is
our wedding
so
cake.
great. Oh man, I need to activate my Funko life.
Yeah, they're available on their website too if you want to create yourself. So
No
that's
way, really?
yes. So yeah, I'd say check it out. It's a great Christmas gift. Here I am doing a commercial too.
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go shop right now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not even that too bad of expensive either, so it's great. It's fun, and yeah. So,
For
Todd,
those
thank you
Christmas shopping out there, don't forget the Manny Funko doll.
again. Make a couple of those too. Todd, thank you again. It was really nice to meet you, and hope to chat with you again.
I hope so too, brother.